Weird, the Al Yankovic story is the very weird story of a very weird guy. The movie, like the man himself, takes great delight blurring the lines between fact and fiction, basically daring us to try to separate real life from parody.
Well, Mr. Yankovic, challenge accepted.
Let's establish some ground rules first. You probably shouldn't go into this video expecting a normal side-by-side comparison like we might do with a traditional biopic like Bohemian Rhapsody. This is Weird Al Yankovic we're talking about, the guy who wrote Amish Paradise, Eat It, and Like a Surgeon. Yankovic himself happily admits that he had basically zero interest in making a serious biopic, and neither did his co-writer and director Eric Appel, who is on record as saying he did absolutely no research on Al's actual life. They're both far more interested in creating a deranged parody of traditional music biopics, satirizing all familiar tropes and narratives in the same way Weird Al's music has been parodying popular songs for decades. Think Walk Hard rather than Walk the Line. And actually, one of the main reasons the movie exists is because of a comedy short that Eric Appel made for Funny or Die nearly 10 years ago. That version starred Aaron Paul as Weird Al and Olivia Wilde as Madonna rather than Daniel Radcliffe and Evan Rachel Wood. But you can see that the concept was already pretty much fully formed. Weird Al saw the short and loved it so much that he started showing it at his concerts. So when the time came to make a movie, why wouldn't he go back to the man who created it? And here's a fun fact, Aaron Paul was actually supposed to come and make a cameo in the new movie, but he unfortunately had to bow out because he came down with COVID. Okay, that's actually not that fun. Best wishes to Mr. Paul, we hope he feels better. Anyway, when you think about it, with Weird Al involved, it was inevitable that the parody trailer would eventually become a real movie, and that the real movie would itself be a parody. A real circle of life kind of deal.
So is anything in the Al Yankovic story real? Well,
kinda. It's definitely 100% true that Alfred Matthew Yankovich, aka Weird Al Yankovic, aka Weird Al, is a composer and singer of comedy songs who has sold over 12 million albums since he first appeared on the Dr. Demento radio show in 1976. He also plays the accordion. So the basic overall structure of the movie, pretty accurate. And some things that might seem like comic inventions are actually true, like the Yankovic bump, where the release of a Weird Al parody leads to a spike in the sales of the original songs. That's actually a genuine phenomenon. The real Weird Al has even said that he got a call from Nirvana's record label after his parody Smells Like Nirvana came out, thanking him because they sold a whole bunch more units of the original. Sometimes fact is actually stranger than fiction.
But don't get it twisted, this movie is not a Wikipedia entry. When it comes to the realities of Weird Al's life, let's just say some liberties have been taken.
For example, in the movie, Al's parents, especially his father, deeply disapprove of young Al's decision to take up the accordion. His movie dad is so angry that he beats up the door-to-door accordion salesman who inspires his son. Good drama, sure, but in reality, Al's parents, especially his father, were very supportive of their son playing the accordion. In fact, it was actually their idea for him to learn the instrument, inspired by America's polka king, Frankie Yankovic. No relation, believe it or not. Yeah, who knew there were two famous unrelated Yankovics who play the accordion? Of course, the angry, disapproving father figure is a classic trope of the rock star biopic, so of course they'd want to satirize it. And when it comes to Weird Al's breakout hit My Bologna, a parody of My Sharona by The Knack, the movie also goes for a classic trope of the biopic, an idea suddenly striking the composer in a moment of divine cinematic inspiration. Here, Al is making a sandwich for his band, My Sharona comes on the radio, and the parody version comes to Al in a flash like magic.
Open up a package of My Bologna.
In real life, much less exciting. Al had already been considering parodying My Sharona, and the lyrics for his version came the way they usually do, through lots of brainstorming, rehearsal, and repetition. How about Weird Al's relationship with Madonna? In the movie, they meet and are instantly attracted to each other, hooking up in a hilariously passionate, horny scene. Their makeout session was actually the first scene that Radcliffe and Wood shot, which we're sure wasn't awkward at all. After that, Madonna seems to become Al's muse throughout the movie. Well, we're sorry to disappoint you, but there is no relationship in reality. In fact, it's probably one of the biggest liberties taken in the movie. Not only did the real Madonna and Al never hook up, but there's not much evidence that they were actually even that close. The only connection that they do have is that the real Madonna did suggest that Al write a parody of her song Like a Virgin, which resulted in his hit Like a Surgeon. And that's not the only major liberty that the movie takes. The Al Yankovic story portrays Al as a troubled, rebellious guy with a drink and drug problem that makes him violent, unpredictable, and unprofessional. Again, classic rock star stuff,
which you probably recognize from, let me check my notes.
every music biopic you've ever seen, but it's all fictional. In reality, Al has never had any issues with substance abuse. He's actually famously clean living and mild-mannered. He doesn't even swear. His go-to curse, according to interviews, is "dang it," and he definitely has never alienated his bandmates by being drunk and abusive, which, to be honest, makes the joke much funnier. And here are a few more things that Weird Al Yankovic has never done. Weird Al did not wear his platinum records around his neck when he was interviewed by Oprah Winfrey. Weird Al has never exposed himself on stage. Weird Al does not play himself in the new biopic, though he does appear in the movie playing record producer Tony Scotti. Not at all confusing. Weird Al did not rescue Madonna from notorious Colombian drug lord and narco-terrorist Pablo Escobar. To be clear, Weird Al never even met notorious Colombian drug lord and narco-terrorist Pablo Escobar. However, notorious Colombian drug lord and narco-terrorist Pablo Escobar did once express an interest in kidnapping Michael Jackson. So when writing the new movie, Weird Al and Eric Appel took some inspiration from that. Once again, sometimes real life is stranger than fiction. And speaking of Michael Jackson, we can also confirm that the late King of Pop did not steal Eat It from Weird Al Yankovic and turn it into Beat It, as the movie suggests. That may be pretty obvious to most people, but you never know with the internet. Oh, and while we're busting myths, it is true that the late great Coolio wasn't super happy with Weird Al's parody of Gangsta's Paradise when it came out. He thought, maybe understandably, that Al's version cheapened the song's very serious message. But the scene in the movie where the rapper angrily watches the live performance didn't happen. Sorry. And in fact, before he died, Coolio even apologized for taking the parody too seriously, which is nice that they ended up making up. But hey, you guys are probably wondering, if all that stuff is made up, is anything in the new movie actually real?
Well, here's a question right back at you. What's the most important element of a music biopic?
No, it's not the drugs or the sex. It's not even the disappointed father figure. It's the music, and all the music in the movie is 100% real. Now, different biopics have taken different approaches to recreating music. Some, like Walk the Line or Rocketman, have the actor who plays the musician do all the singing themselves. Joaquin Phoenix even learned to play the guitar from scratch when he played Johnny Cash. Other movies have the actor lip sync to the original songs, such as Jamie Foxx did in Ray. So skillfully, in fact, that a lot of people thought it was actually him singing. And others go for a strange hybrid approach, like Bohemian Rhapsody, in which Rami Malek's voice was digitally combined with another singer, though that singer wasn't Queen frontman Freddie Mercury. Weird. Now we're sure Daniel Radcliffe would have worked hard to sing like Weird Al, and the actor did learn to play the accordion for the new movie. But the songs, they're totally Weird Al with Daniel Radcliffe carefully lip syncing. But not all the songs are the original versions. Weird Al decided that he would re-record brand new versions of some of them to make sure that everything sounded up to date. But it's totally him singing. He even wrote a new song for the end credits, with lyrics suggesting that the song is eligible for an Oscar, though unfortunately that's not accurate because the movie hasn't had a theatrical release. Sorry to disappoint you, Al. It's kind of fitting in a way. In a movie that completely parodies so much of Weird Al's life, the one thing that definitely isn't a parody or an impression is his music. But that's not to say that Daniel Radcliffe didn't have any work to do. We've already mentioned that he learned to play the accordion, but there's a lot more to it than that. Daniel Radcliffe is no stranger to musical performances, as you'll know if you saw his famous appearance on Jimmy Fallon when he rapped Alphabet Aerobics by Blackalicious. In fact, it was another talk show appearance that first brought Radcliffe to Weird Al's attention. The musician saw the actor perform the Element song on a British talk show in 2010 and thought to himself, that's alpha nerd stuff. We're kindred spirits. And yeah, we'd say alpha nerd is about right. But there's a big leap from talk show performance to actually playing the guy. Radcliffe is going full rock star in this new movie. Bare-chested, drinking, punching and shouting, kicking down doors, probably even trashing some hotel rooms. He got seriously buff for the role too, working with some of the pros who get the Marvel actors in shape. Radcliffe even got some pointers from Thor himself, Chris Hemsworth. Who else would you ask for guidance on abs and such? And yes, we can confirm the actor even grew his own mustache. Clearly the most important physical change. So sure, Radcliffe worked hard, but is his performance an accurate take on Weird Al? Well, in a word, nope. As we've already said, the real life Weird Al might be eccentric, but he's also famously mild-mannered and polite. And no offense to the guy, but he's not exactly super buff. So what gives? Well, in keeping with the movie's satirical take on musical biopics, Radcliffe's performance is also satirical. Weird Al had no real interest in an accurate, true-to-life impersonation. He deliberately gave the young actor very few notes and encouraged Radcliffe to interpret the fictional Al however he wanted. It's a refreshingly non-egotistical approach, and it means that even though Radcliffe isn't singing Al's songs, he is able to bring his own particular magic to the characters surrounding the songs. He's playing the man's pure, uncut weirdness, and his huge, unexpected fame in a heightened way, which is one of the many things that sets the Al Yankovic story apart from the likes of Bohemian Rhapsody, for which star Rami Malek spent hours meticulously studying Freddie Mercury's every movement so he could perform an accurate impression. So while the portrayal of the music is probably the #1 most important part of a music biopic, the portrayal of the musician is definitely the second most important. But for this movie, the portrayal of the musician isn't really true to life at all.
See what we mean when we say it's hard to separate the fact from the fiction? Anyway, Daniel Radcliffe isn't even the only one giving us a memorable take on a real-life celebrity.
Being the biopic of a pretty famous guy, the movie is full of many other famous faces, some of them even played by different famous faces. The big pool party scene, for example, is full of cameos from the likes of Jack Black and Conan O'Brien, which was basically a case of Weird Al going through his address book and saying, "Hey, you wanna be in my movie?" Now that's fame. But it's not just a matter of famous cameos. The movie also features other real-life characters with bigger, more important roles than Weird Al's life. But exactly how accurate are they? Rainn Wilson plays Dr. Demento, the radio DJ who first discovered the musical prodigy. The DJ's strange name was pretty fitting as he would play a whole bunch of weird stuff, from polka music to horror movie soundtracks. And Rainn Wilson actually grew up listening to him. I wonder what the young Wilson would have thought if someone told him he grew up to play his favorite DJ. The movie also features Quinta Brunson, creator and star of Abbott Elementary, as the legendary Oprah Winfrey. Did Weird Al ever meet Oprah? Yes, he did. He was once interviewed by her, though as we said earlier, Al did not wear his platinum records around his neck. He did, however, name check the famous talk show host in not 1, but 3 songs. He's clearly a big fan. And of course, there's the aforementioned Evan Rachel Wood playing Madonna. We already know that Al and Madonna aren't really that close, so that aspect of the movie isn't true. But what about Wood's portrayal of the iconic star? Well, again, the lines seem pretty blurry. Wood is playing her as an intense, scary, even kind of horny superstar, which is very much the kind of persona that the real Madonna cultivated when she was first rising to prominence. The filmmakers even suggested that Wood play her as if she had taken a whole bunch of cocaine, but apparently the portrayal hasn't actually been cleared with Madonna herself. So Wood is now kind of nervous that she's in the bad books of one of the most legendary pop stars ever. Hey, we're pretty sure Madonna has a good sense of humor. It's a parody after all, and Wood is giving us a heightened, intensified take on Madonna, in the same way that Radcliffe is giving us a heightened, intensified take on Weird Al himself. And you know what? There's a good reason why everyone making this movie seems heightened and intense. Cause not only did it have a budget of just $8 million, which is tiny, it was shot in less than 3 weeks. That's right, 18 days, which is tight for a major motion picture. Heck, it would even be tight for an indie movie. For reference, that's 10 days shorter than the 28-day shoot for Rocky in 1976, but 10 days longer than the 8-day shoot for the Blair Witch Project in 1999. Now we're wondering what a Weird Al parody of the Blair Witch Project would look like.
Hey, the man's destroyed the music biopic for good. I mean, he might as well get started on the found footage horror genre too.
Okay, it's not strictly true that Weird the Al Yankovic story has destroyed the music biopic as we know it. Anyone who saw Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox Story back in 2007 probably thought that we would never see a traditional rock star biopic again. Walk Hard is so accurate and merciless in how it tears down the tropes, surely nobody would be stupid enough to make another one after that. Well, you'd think, but no. There have been plenty more traditional biopics since Walk Hard, and we'll probably see more after Weird. It's such a tired and tested formula, it'll probably never die. But where exactly does Weird fit in that cinematic tradition? It's definitely not a Ray or a Bohemian Rhapsody or really even a Rocketman. It's much more in the lineage of comic experimental movies like Walk Hard or I'm Not There, the unconventional 2007 Bob Dylan biopic, in which the great songwriter was played by 6 actors, including Heath Ledger and, believe it or not, Kate Blanchett. Hang on, 2007? Walk Hard and I'm Not There were both made in 2007? That's like year 0 for weird music biopics. What could it mean? Anyway, what we're trying to say is, even if the fiction doesn't always align with the facts, the feel of the movie is about as close to the real Weird Al as you could hope to get, short of injecting yourself directly into his brain. And if Weird shows us anything, is that a movie about a musician will often be more interesting if it leans into what makes that musician special. After all, I'm Not There works because it literally portrays Bob Dylan as he's always been, a man with many faces.
And Weird works because it literally portrays Weird Al as he's always been, a huge weirdo.
So we hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully when it inevitably goes viral and becomes the most popular video on YouTube, Weird Al can make a parody of it.
Then we can make a video analyzing that parody. Then he can parody the analysis. And so on forever. Sound good?